Hey, this beef is too salty. No way, mother-in-law. You made it. Oh dear, silly me. My name is Sarah, 28. I work as a nurse. And by the way, the one cheerfully serving the stew right now isn't my mom, but my mother-in-law, Andrew's mother. Ever since we got married, she's been very affectionate towards me, and even without Andrew, I would visit my in-laws' place to cook and eat meals together. I, who don't have a good relationship with my own parents, am closer to my mother-in-law than my own mother. My mother-in-law is a cheerful character, and she raised Andrew and his brother single-handedly after a divorce when Andrew was still a kid. I remember being quite nervous when I first met her, because a married friend once told me, "In-laws are people you can never understand in your lifetime." But those fears vanished as soon as I met my mother-in-law. I've always wanted a daughter. We only had rough boys in our house. Thanks for marrying Andrew, she said warmly, gripping my hand. I felt from the bottom of my heart that I would get along with this person. After getting married, she said, "I want our relationship to be like friends. So let's avoid formal language from now on." Of course, I was resistant at first, but now we can joke and tease each other. Lately, we have been playing pranks, pretending to be a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law with a bad relationship. People are often surprised to learn that we are in-laws. I still use polite language when there are many people gathered, such as for rituals. "So, Andrew is working again today?" "Yeah, it's shift work, so I thought there would be almost no overtime, but he seems to be busy because of a shortage of staff." Well, I'm happier to see you, Sarah, than Andrew, so I'm having fun just cooking with you." She said such a happy thing. While we were chatting, my cell phone rang. Well, speak of the devil, hello. The caller was my husband, Andrew. He had said he would stop by his parents' house after work, and we would all have dinner together.
"Oh, Sarah, it's me. Sorry, I can't seem to get away from work, so I don't think I can make it."
"Again? You did that last time too. Your mother has been waiting and cooking for you."
"Well, it's work, so I can't help it. And she's happier to see you than me, so I'll ask you to take care of her."
With that, he hung up the phone, unilaterally. It's been like this lately. Mother-in-law, Andrew just told me that he can't make it again today. Oh, really? He completely neglects his family, just like my divorced ex. As we were fussing over it, a voice came.
"Could you keep it down? I can hear you outside."
The one who spoke was Andrew's younger brother, whom we'll call Tom. Tom, who's still single, lives with his mother in their family home. "Oh, sorry. Welcome home, Tom." I greet him, but he always just nods his head and heads straight to his room. He's such a cool guy, as usual. My mother-in-law often worries whether he's got someone special or not. Andrew and Tom may look alike, but unlike my sociable husband, Tom is rather quiet. Their brotherly relationship is neither too good nor too bad. I often hear about many people who are troubled by their difficult relationships with their in-laws, but I never had such worries. Sure, there were some concerns, but I was living a pretty happy life. Little did I know that I was about to get caught up in something. It was one day while I was at work. That day was the hottest day of the year. Typically on such days, we get a lot of heat stroke victims incoming. Seeing the patient who was brought in, I was shocked. It's my mother-in-law. The one accompanying my unconscious mother-in-law was Tom, and it seems she had collapsed in the yard when he got home. Gardening is a hobby of my mother-in-law's, and the yard is always filled with plants. The types of plants change with the seasons, and on nice days, one of her pleasures is to go out in the yard and have some tea.
She was so absorbed in gardening, and it seems that she just collapsed from heat stroke.
Tom looked worriedly at his mother.
Please help my mom, I beg you.
Seeing Tom's tearful face, I realized just how much he cherished his mother. As I told him that everything would be okay, I asked him, "Have you told Andrew about this?" Tom responded,
I tried calling him several times, but he never answers. Is Andrew working today?
Andrew should be off today. When I left for work, he was still sound asleep. No, he's off today. He might still be asleep. I'll contact him. Tom, could you handle mother-in-law's hospital admission procedures?
Of course. Thank you very much.
Fortunately, my mother-in-law just had mild dehydration. After some intravenous fluids, she regained consciousness and was even able to hold a conversation. Despite assuring us she was fine, she ended up being hospitalized for a few days for further examination. I guess I pushed myself too hard and suddenly felt weak. I'm sorry for worrying you. Thanks, Tom. As she said this to Tom, he replied as always,
Not a big deal.
Keeping his cool demeanor. At this point, I finally remembered to call Andrew. After trying several times without response, a groggy voice on the other end of the line finally answered.
Hello?
Ah, Andrew, you finally answered. How long are you planning on sleeping? In response to me, Andrew replied lazily,
Actually, I've been up and out for a while now. You know I haven't seen Mom in a while, right? Thought I should do something nice for her, so I took her out to a fancy restaurant.
Hearing Andrew speak such blatant lies, I realized the truth. I see. She must be happy.
Yeah, she seemed really happy. She's so attached. It's almost troublesome. Anyway, because of that.
As he was about to hang up, I said, Wait, there's something I wanted to ask mother-in-law. Could you put her on the line? Seeing how he seemed to panic at my request, he managed to croak out,
No, she just went to the bathroom. I'll just pass on the message.
That's okay. I'll just ask her myself the next time I see her. Are you coming home early today?
Sorry, but I have to work after this. Tom tried calling me earlier too, but I figured it wasn't anything urgent, so I just ignored it.
He said as he laughed before abruptly ending the call. I had suspected it for a while, but it became clear that Andrew was having an affair. And it seemed like he was deeply infatuated with his mistress. I could almost imagine flowers blossoming in his mind. I wonder which field of flowers he's lost in. I won't let him get away with this. He better be ready. From that day on, I began plotting my revenge. The day I was certain of Andrew's betrayal, I packed my belongings and left our home. I left my wedding ring and a note that simply read, "Be ready," on the desk. I rented a hotel room near my workplace and started commuting from there. I've always been one to have little material desire. I had a few possessions, and being a nurse, my salary was pretty decent. On my days off, I would often visit my in-laws, so I didn't spend much money. Ever since I got married, I haven't been able to save much for certain reasons. Though the idea of my money dwindling did worry me, I was planning on having Andrew pay back what was lost. Andrew got in touch with me the day after I left the house, which means he must have gotten home in the morning. He clearly doesn't take me seriously. I got multiple calls, but I ignored them all. When he realized I wasn't going to pick up, he started bombarding me with messages. At first, they read like,
Sarah, you must have misunderstood something. I'm worried. Please come home. It was my fault.
But over time, they became more aggressive.
Hey, respond to me. If you want a divorce, go ahead. You're the one who mentioned divorce, so I expect alimony.
And then he would apologize again. Is he emotionally unstable or something? Reading his messages, I could tell he was getting desperate, so I decided it was time to take action. The following week, I visited the in-laws. Since that day, my mother-in-law had her tests, but no issues were found, so she was discharged as planned. That day, we had all gathered to celebrate her discharge. Thank you, Sarah, for organizing this wonderful gathering. I bought your favorite cake from the bakery you love, so let's eat it together later. When I told her that, she smiled joyfully. So, how are things with that matter? Mother-in-law asked so. All the preparations are complete. I can't wait. When I said that, I grinned. As I was having a pleasant dinner with my mother-in-law, the doorbell rang. Seeing the person on the intercom screen, her face turned serious instantly. Seeing her reaction, I immediately knew who it was. Come in! When my mother-in-law said so coldly, the front door opened and the person I'd been waiting for that day entered.
Long time no see.
It was Andrew, whom I had invited, insisting he come because we needed to talk. Of course, I had already told my mother-in-law everything. Upon hearing about Andrew's infidelity from me, she was furious. But when I said that I'd like her to wait a bit, given that this is a marital issue, she just apologized over and over about her son. Seeing her like this made me feel guilty instead.
Sarah, why didn't you contact me? I've been worried all this time.
It's fine. It's fine. Cut the drama. I think you know. But divorce is the only option. Of course, I'll be taking alimony. Once the topic of money came up, my so far mature husband reacted.
What? Why do I have to pay the alimony? Sarah should be the one to pay. Enough about money, money, money.
I wondered if his head was all right, but I thought I shouldn't get emotional to keep the conversation going. I calmly replied, Well, you see, you're the one who cheated. You're obviously the one at fault, and you're obviously the one who should pay the alimony.
But still.
Seeing my husband mutter inaudibly, my until now silent mother-in-law finally lost her patience. Andrew, you've been spouting nonsense. Just hurry up and get a divorce and pay the alimony to Sarah. And don't ever come here again. If you do, I'll bury you in the garden. As my mother-in-law was about to say something outrageous, I stepped in to stop her. Stop! Stop! Andrew, aren't you ashamed to put your parents through this? Here, sign this right now. Saying this, I placed the divorce papers I had prepared in front of Andrew. He looked shocked. Perhaps he hadn't expected the talk of divorce. I was surprised that he thought he would be forgiven in this situation. Why did you come alone today? Didn't I ask you to bring her along? When I glared at him, he said,
Seriously, I did talk to her, and she seemed willing, so I brought her along. She's waiting in the car right now.
I was irritated by my husband's mumbling, so I snapped. Just go get her. Understanding, he left and returned with a woman. Excuse us. A woman entered with a grating voice. Seeing a woman show up with such energy at her affair partner's family home and in front of his wife and mother no less, I thought she was as usual. Hi there, mother-in-law. Nice to meet you. I'm Michelle. And long time no see, Sarah. Seeing me, she chuckled. You're as usual, Michelle. I'm surprised you haven't changed at all. This wasn't a compliment. I was talking about her personality, not her appearance. She looked like a proper woman in her 30s. But her clothes and makeup made her look like a high school girl. It didn't suit her at all. Really? That's so nice. Maybe it's because I go to a good beauty salon. As for you, Sarah, have you aged a bit? She looked at me, then chuckled through her nose. Andrew, my husband, had a surprised look on his face when he saw Michelle and me.
You two know each other?
Yeah, we were classmates in high school. Haven't seen each other since we graduated. But who would have thought we'd meet again like this? When I answered, Andrew for some reason seemed relieved and said something outrageous.
Oh, come on. You could have said that sooner. If she's your friend, there's no alimony, right? That's good news. My Princess Michelle. Seems like I won't have to pay a dime.
His ridiculously foolish statement left me utterly dumbfounded. No, we're not friends. And did he just call her princess? Gross. This reminded me of when Andrew and I first started dating, when he used to call me my Princess Sarah. It became so annoying that I had to make him stop. His nickname game is the worst. So gross. When I discovered Andrew's infidelity, I immediately sought a lawyer. As the investigation proceeded, I found out that the woman he was cheating with was Michelle. This woman has always been like this, seeming to fancy other women's men, constantly hitting on guys even if they already had girlfriends, often causing arguments. And it's not even like she's pretty. To be honest, her looks are below average. However, she's brimming with confidence and probably thinks she's the prettiest woman in the room. I'm not really into social media and don't know much about it. According to a friend, Michelle would send messages without hesitation to any man she finds attractive. It appears that she met Andrew through social media. Michelle's job is basically a housemaid. I felt pathetic that my husband's mistress turned out to be a woman like her. I get tired of talking to you two. Can you sign this quickly? When I said that, Andrew, who was hesitant about the divorce until now, readily signed the divorce papers. Apparently, he genuinely believes there's no alimony. Now I can finally be with Andrew. I'll always be your pretty wife. Nothing is more cringeworthy than a woman in her 30s trying to act all cutesy. Despite this, Andrew didn't seem to mind. I started to worry about his eyesight. So, mother-in-law, please get along with me from now on. When Michelle says this, my mother-in-law replied, Huh? No, thanks. She answered with a deep, intimidating voice. Oh no, that's scary. As Michelle started to whine to my husband, Andrew, he started spouting nonsense about being unfair even though she's good friends with me. I was thinking someone ought to do something about these two when my brother-in-law Tom came home. Seeing the chaotic scene, he managed a wry smile, seemingly understanding the gist of the situation. Then Michelle suddenly exclaimed, Wait, isn't that Tom? No way. Are you the brother he mentioned? She seemed to be getting overly excited all by herself. As I wondered what had come over her, Tom responded, Long time no see, Michelle. Apparently, Michelle and Tom used to work at the same part-time job. Considering Tom's not bad-looking, it's not surprising that Michelle had taken a liking to him. By the way, due to her terrible memory, Michelle ended up getting fired from that job. I'm going to be your new sister-in-law. Are you happy? Michelle swayed her body as she addressed Tom, to which he responded, Are you serious? That's the worst. My brother-in-law replied coldly. His cold response seemed to stun Michelle, who froze in place. Ha!
Oh, this was sent to me by a friend. That's you, right?
Tom then showed us a certain website. It was one of those unpleasant sites where people laugh at other people's social media posts. One person was frequently the butt of jokes on this site, with comments like, "Michelle is exhausting today, too." And,
"At this point, it's just a joke."
Furthermore, Tom showed us one of Michelle's social media accounts. The photos were mostly selfies, making it obvious that they were of Michelle. Looking at Michelle out of the corner of my eye, thinking that this would surely upset her, she said, "It's hard being popular. These are mostly just women being jealous. Oh well, whatever." Although she responded in that manner, it was clear she was less energetic than before. Even she seemed to have been hurt by this. Just because it's the internet doesn't mean you can write whatever you want. I couldn't help but feel a bit of sympathy for her in this case. "Well, it doesn't matter. From now on, Andrew and I are going to live a glamorous life." Hearing those words, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. A glamorous life? No way! "Could you stop acting tough because your husband got taken? It must be tough to lose a doctor husband, huh?" At Michelle's words, we all burst into laughter. Wait, when did Andrew become a doctor? Congratulations! I was laughing so hard that Michelle looked utterly bewildered. Apparently my husband had posted a picture of the hospital where I work on social media, along with the words, "Another hard-working day." I remember he used to come pick me up after work. The post was meant for me. But she somehow misinterpreted it as Andrew's workplace. The equation of hospital equals doctor made me burst into laughter due to its simplistic nature. But Andrew was always generous with money, and even took me to a fancy restaurant the other day. He also paid for my spa appointments. As Michelle continued, it was clear she was starting to panic. I didn't think my husband had much money, which was puzzling. When I asked him about the source of the money, he let out an astonishing revelation.
"I used Sarah's credit card."
Even if we're family, using a credit card in someone else's name is illegal. But my main card is still in my wallet. I used it to pay for a hotel just the other day. So whose card did he use? As I was wondering this, he returned the card.
"Well, what's done is done. Besides, we're still married."
"Look, this is a family card. It's your card." He must have forgotten, but we got this family card when we got married because there was a campaign to increase points. I have my own card, so I've never used it. Therefore, of course, the payment this time was from his account. "You still have your severance pay from your previous job, right? You'll figure it out." As I said this with a smile, his face turned pale. He used to work for a fairly decent company. His diligent work was valued, and he even became a team leader. However, after being married for a while, he suddenly quit his job. He claimed the reason was me. As a nurse, I often worked night shifts and sometimes earned more than him. This apparently hurt his pride, and he started saying things like,
"If Sarah's making money, I don't have to work, right?"
But I didn't mind that at all. My husband Andrew did help out with the chores around the house, which was beneficial. However, it was indeed tough having to bear the cost of living all by myself. Almost all my salary went towards living expenses, and I had no room to save. Andrew always made up some excuse to avoid visiting my in-laws' house, probably because he didn't want my mother-in-law nagging about this issue. I was naive to think that he would someday find a steady job. Desiring some pocket money, Andrew announced,
"I got a job."
He started working part-time at a convenience store near the train station and has been promoted to team leader. Listening to my story, Michelle muttered, "Convenience store? Team leader?" She was mumbling something under her breath, then suddenly stood up, exclaiming, "You've been lying to me! You're the worst! I'm going to sue you! I'm leaving!" She ran off like a scared rabbit. Watching her retreating figure, I thought to myself, "It's you who's going to get sued, sorry to say." I muttered so in my mind. After the storm passed, the room was eerily silent. Breaking the silence was,
"Well, that's how it is. Sarah, let's get along from now on."
It was my silly husband, Andrew. I was dumbfounded at his stupidity. When Andrew tried to put his arm around me, my former judo team captain, brother-in-law Tom, performed a beautiful throw on him. When I saw my mother-in-law exclaiming, "What a throw!" I had to stifle my laughter. Andrew apparently had some judo experience, but he looked quite foolish, taken by surprise. As for what happened after, I quickly filed for divorce. Andrew paid me alimony from a term deposit that had matured before we got married. He showed up at my workplace once after the divorce in a pitiful manner, but after I threatened to call the police if he showed up again, he never did. I thought about claiming damages from Michelle as well, but honestly, I didn't want to deal with her anymore. I didn't need to do anything. I knew she would face hardship in the future. During a consultation with a lawyer, I learned something about Michelle.
About the woman your husband cheated with, we'd received consultations from other people as well, and I believe she will definitely be punished.
Apparently, Michelle was involved with many people, not just my husband, and there were over 10 victims, including people whose marriages had been ruined or who had lent her money and been run out on. She definitely needs to pay for her actions. A few days later, a friend from high school showed me a viral video on social media where victims were gathered in front of Michelle's house shouting, "Give back our money!" and "We'll never forgive you!" It became such a scene that the police had to be called in. And there in her home, Michelle was shouting from her window, "I did nothing wrong!" What surprised me was that my ex-husband Andrew was among the crowd of victims. I felt truly relieved to have divorced such a foolish man. As for my former in-laws, I thought I wouldn't see my former mother-in-law after the divorce, but we still occasionally go out to eat as friends. Surprisingly, a while after all this, my former brother-in-law Tom said, "I'm getting married." He even introduced me to his cute girlfriend. Apparently, they've been dating since high school. He transferred to a reputable company, and as my former brother-in-law, he even kindly invited me to his wedding. I couldn't believe that this diligent Tom was a brother to my former husband. I believe that Tom, being so earnest, will surely build a good family. With that thought, I decided to continue doing my best as a proud nurse.